The Business of Agriculture is brought to you by Land Trust. Have you heard how landowners are increasing profitability by adding recreation to their portfolio of land use? Millions of outdoor recreators seek wide-open spaces for birdwatching, photography, hunting, fishing, horseback riding, and many other farm and ranch activities. Landowners are partnering with the Recreation Access Network, Land Trust. Land Trust is an online platform connecting recreators with landowners for outdoor experiences on their land to increase profitability. Visit landtrust.com/BOA, as in Business of Agriculture, to learn more. That's landtrust.com/BOA.
Greetings and welcome to another fantastic episode of the Business of Agriculture podcast. Got a great episode for you today. I've got a very interesting guest. His name is Corbett Kull. He is the founder and CEO of Tillable. If you are in the business of agriculture, unless you live under a rock, if you pay attention at all, you've probably heard about Tillable. Tillable sometimes is a bit of a lightning rod because some people love it, some people hate it, some people are squawking about it. There's a lot of untruths out there. I'm bringing on Corbett because first off, he's a great entrepreneurial story, and this is, after all, the Business of Agriculture podcast. More importantly, we'll talk about what's evolving in our business. You know, frankly, there's a lot of inefficiencies when it comes to land rent, how farms are transacted, and sometimes, dare I say, there are situations where landowners are not necessarily given great information. They're sometimes being taken advantage of. The old stat that more than half of all the Iowa farmland is owned by single women, meaning widows. There is this dearth of information, sometimes misinformation. I believe that companies like Tillable are going to fit into the future of the business of agriculture. So, Corbett Kull, thank you for being on the Business of Agriculture.
Damian, thanks for having me on today. I really appreciate it.
Okay. So I gave the introduction there. So now you're like, wait a minute, man, this guy's walking me into some sort of a firing range here. No, I brought you on, and in all full disclosure, a company that's got some similarity to you named Cash Rent or cashrent.com. So I might refer to it all. I had them on a little over a year ago in October of 2020, because I had seen what they were doing. And I said, I think there's going to be something to this. Right now, if you are a landowner like me, you've got the neighbor down the road, and then you got door knockers, and everybody gets mad about that. Oh, I went around knocking on doors trying to rent ground. And I said to the farmers that complain about that, I said, you know what I do? I have a website. I have social media. I have phone calls. I reach out to people every day to attempt to build my business. So why is it so wrong that one would go around trying to build their business by acquiring or renting more acres? That's where Tillable comes in. So Corbett, give me some scoop here. You founded this company in 2017. Why?
Well, like all great things in life, it happened kind of by accident or by chance. A friend of mine inherited a farm from his grandmother, and he called me up out of the blue, Damian, and he said, "Hey, Corbett, my grandmother died. She left me this farm. I don't know what to do." And I'm like, okay, great. What do you want me to do to help you out? And he's like, well, I'm not exactly sure if I'm getting fair market rent. I don't know if I have a good farm or a bad farm. I don't know if I have a great tenant. Can you just help me out? And it was really through the process of talking to my friend, making a few phone calls, and helping him out that I'm like, I wonder if there's a business here. So I just started digging into it like all entrepreneurs do, right? And how big is the market? Oh, the rental market is about $32 billion a year.
The rental farm rental is about $32 billion a year. $32 billion right now in the year 2021. Yep. Is going to change hands from a tenant farmer that needs acres to build his business or her business to a landowner. Is that what I'm hearing?
Yeah, that's what you're hearing. And by the way, that number's kind of dated. I think that came out in 2014. So,
oh, well, then my heavens. Yes, we know that cash rent is going up. So it could be pushing $40 billion by now.
It very well could be pushing $40 billion. So if you look across the entire United States, 40% of all farmland is rented. But we know in row crops, and let's say just here in the heart of the Midwest, over 50% of the land is rented, right? So it's not owned by the farmer. The farmer is renting it. So it's a big deal. It's a big part of the farm economy. And to be honest with you, Damian, I think it's part of the farm economy that's kind of under the radar, right? A lot of people don't know that much about the rental market, the dynamics. You talked about the negativity towards guys that are doing door knocking and stuff. I'm kind of like you. I'm like, hey, if they're trying to grow their business, knock yourself out. So anyway, that's a little bit, about the market and kind of the why behind, I started the company.
Yeah. So, and we always make this an educational thing, not just for ag people, because we've got all walks of ag industry folks that listen to this, and then many of them share it with others so they can understand about the industry of food, fuel, and fiber. Good friend of mine from Purdue is a resident of the suburbs of Chicago, and he listens to this. So what a lot of people don't realize is that, like you said, in places like here where I am in the Midwest, you're from Illinois, these acres have good value. We get good precipitation, and it is an asset. One might call me an investor. I don't operate all the acres on my property. I rent it out to a tenant. I mean, a dairy farmer that needs my acres to grow corn and alfalfa on for forage to feed his cows. So anyway, it's, as you said, it's an industry and it is an investment. And then the other part of it is, because I was raised on a farm and I'm very near and dear to this, like I said, what a lot of people are saying, what are you talking about, Damian? Door knockers and all this thing. Well, the reality is, if you have a strip mall and it's in your investment, you're going to put up a sign that says vacancy. And then you hope that Hobby Lobby moves in or whatever the place should be, the barber shop or whatever. And you also can use brokers to get that done. In farmland, there are brokers, there are farm management companies, there are realtors that specialize in farmland, but there's a lot of stuff that's held, as you say. The widow in Iowa or the Damian Masons, we hold this asset. And we could find someone that would manage it, but also we have an existing relationship. There have been different tenants on my farm in my tenure of owning it. And I had no problem finding them because I'm pretty out here. But there's other people that are like, I don't know. I don't know. So you saw this thing when your buddy inherited some land. Once you were in charge, you probably got people banging on your door saying, hey, we'll operate that. We'll rent that. We'll put that in our operation. Is that what happened?
Yeah. And, I think the other dynamic that is happening today, Damian, is, go back, 40, 50, 60 years ago, right? A guy might be farming 200 acres, 250 acres in a relatively concentrated area, right? Like sure. It's 2 or 3 mile radius, which you could do a couple hundred acres, 2 to 3 miles, pretty easy. But if you fast forward to today, even not a massive farmer, let's say a 2,000 acre farmer. So just a good, solid sized farmer, able to, feed his family off of the income of that farm. He may be traveling 20, 30, 40 miles to find enough land to rent, right? Okay. So, I go back to when I grew up in Southern Illinois, everybody in the small town, kind of knew me, knew my last name, and I knew most people, right? Town of 5,000 people. If I go up to the edge of the county that I lived in, I knew a lot fewer people. Mm-hmm. If I go to one county to the north, a lot fewer. If I go 2 counties north, I knew no one, right? And so when you think about it, farmers are needing to roam further and further. Their farming operations are getting larger. Today, a 2,000 acre farmer is not that big, but that 2,000 acre farmer may be farming a radius of 20 or 30 miles. Obviously, the farmer knows his neighbors, but he may not know people 20 miles away. So how do we help farmers, I'll call it, increase their discoverability? Like, how do people even know that there's a farmer that might want to rent the land? So traditionally, what was done is you ask friends, you ask family, you ask the local coffee shop, right? You go to the local cafe. Hey, I got this farm. Does somebody want to rent it? And somebody stands up. Yeah, I'll rent that farm off of you. But, in today's world, there are also a lot of remote landowners, guys living in Chicago that own a farm in Southern Illinois, people in New York City that might own a farm in Iowa. how are they supposed to find a great tenant? So that side of the equation. And then the farmer that's looking for more land to farm, how is he supposed to identify those remote landowners, right? The tax bill probably goes to a PO box or something, right? And or it's held in some LLC or something. So I think there's a discoverability issue on both sides, right? Landowners need to be able to discover great farmers. What a great thing. Let's help farmers become more discoverable, right? And then farmers need to find landowners, right? Landowners that they can virtually door knock, right? So how do we make that happen? That's really why we started Tillable. And so when we put a farm out for rent, so when a landowner comes to us and says, "Hey, I've got this farm, I don't have a tenant," we get on average about 15 farmers interested in a farm. And if the landowner wants, we can assist them in looking at that list of growers and trying to identify who the best grower for this farm might be. So that's really kind of core to the platform, kind of matchmaking between a landowner and a farmer, really helping a farmer find more land to farm. Why is that important? Farmers are getting larger, right?
Right.
Farmers need to farm more land today than they did 40 years ago to be able to, feed their family and make an honest living out of it. So it's the 2,000 acre farmer today is going to need to be, 4, 5, 6,000 acres tomorrow. How are they going to establish those relationships with landowners? In my opinion, the best way to do it is via a platform like Tillable.
Yeah. So you created this Tillable, and you need two things. I always try to make things very simple. You need an acre of land, and you need somebody that wants to rent or buy that acre of land. So you started off on the rent, and now you've moved into buy, and now you're moving into finance. So kind of take me through the transition here of what Tillable did, does, and wants to do.
Sure. So where we started out, what we did was just digital farm management, right? So a platform for connecting landowners and farmers, data, et cetera, just to help landowners make good decisions, help farmers communicate with their landowners.
Okay, now on that front right there, let's say I go, "Hey man, I got these couple hundred tillable acres right here, and I want them to go to." And by the way, when I say tillable, to the person that's really not familiar with this, that means the acres that are under cultivation, meaning not your acres of woods or waterways. So I've got these acres that are available, and then you find me this person. Well, you don't. Your platform does. Guy down the road, next county over, wherever, says, "I want those acres, Damian." Good. Now, do you facilitate? Is there a contract that comes from you? What about the fertility? How do I know that he's getting the right government programs handled? What happens there? Is that all just between them? You're just nothing more than a matchmaker. And it's like, "Hey, you know what? We're Match.com. You guys now start sleeping together, do whatever you want to do. We're out."
So we have an example lease.
You like being compared to Match.com. First off, Corbett, did you like being compared to Match.com? And I referenced people sleeping together, and this is a Business of Agriculture podcast. I didn't get anything. I didn't get any reaction. I know you're an electrical engineer by trade, but for God's sakes, live a little here, brother.
It doesn't bother me. Here's why. Do you know how many people are finding their spouses, their fiancés, their significant others via digital platforms? It's a lot. Back when I was a kid, it was very unusual, right? To have something happen via electronic mechanism like that. Today, it happens all the time. So I'm not offended by it. I think Match.com serves a purpose, right? And I'm sure there's a lot of happy families that have come out of that platform. And I think there can be a lot of happy relationships that come out of Tillable as well.
I agree with you. So the question was then about what happens now. Is Tillable got a role in the management of the daily, monthly, and seasonal practices? Are you going to make sure that there's a contract? And then if I don't get paid, what happens? There's the aspect of fertility and practices. Are you involved in those things?
Yeah. So if a landowner wants our help, right, like we can help them. If a landowner is like, hey, I got it. I just want to use your platform for electronic leases, electronic payments, and all that stuff. I'll do it myself. That's fine. But if a landowner wants help in getting offers on their farms, getting fair market rents, choosing the farmer, and then monitoring the agronomic practices on the farm, like just making sure that the fertility is being kept up, the yields look reasonable, soil testing is taking place, the landowner's wishes around, do they want no-till, strip-till, cover crops, whatever. We can assist in all of that. And, you could call it kind of lightweight, farm management if you want to. So we have the platform that can do electronic leases, electronic payments, capturing the activities on the farm. But if you want some assistance, we have a farm ops team, a farm operations team that, boots on the ground, can go out to the farm, visit the farm, talk to the farmer, help select a farmer. So really as much or as little assistance that a landowner feels like they need, Tillable can, be flexible.
All right. You started off just as a rent site, and then you moved into more stuff, and then you're going to be moving into more stuff. So we did the did. Now let's do the do, and then we'll do it'll eventually do.
Sure. So one of our large landowners came to us about a year ago and said, hey, Corbett, can you help me sell a farm? And I'm like, we're just a digital farm management platform. I don't know if we want to get into the brokerage business. And I've talked to a lot of people out there, and for the longest time, I was like, I just want to do digital farm management. So finally, after this large landowner kind of repeatedly asked me, I said, okay, look, we'll run an experiment, right? We'll help you sell your farm and let's see how it goes. So we listed the farm, and the farm sold like that, like 10 days, I think.
And this was not an online auction. This was here's the price per acre and here's this place. Boom.
Correct. We did not run an online auction. Technically we could have, but we didn't. It was just a typical listing. We got the landowner what we consider to be a fair value per acre on the farm. He was happy. Got the offer and had a signed contract in 10 days. So super happy there. It closed, I think, 4 weeks later. So relatively quick process.
Yep.
A lot of potential buyers of farms, local farmers, local landowners, land investors were exposed to it in a relatively, quick period or short period of time. So we proved that the platform Tillable could give great exposure to a farm that's for sale. And it was just an experiment, and it worked. And then we're like, okay, well, I guess we'll keep doing it, right? I mean, that when you start a company, you don't know what will work and what won't work, right? I mean, that's just the reality of it. But we ran an experiment, and we're like, okay, this is okay. And then we sold another farm, and then another farm, and then and now it seems to be working. So we're in the farm brokerage business, predominantly focused on the heart of the Midwest right now, and we're adding more brokers to the Tillable team. Literally, while we speak. So if there are folks out there listening who think Tillable's interesting, and you're a broker or you're interested in farm real estate, hey, give us a call. I mean, maybe there's a good fit for you here.
Yeah, we're going to get into more of that. I want to remind our listeners right now of two things. First off, this is not just a podcast to listen to. Of course, we very much appreciate you doing that. 210 episodes and counting now for 4.5 years. The Business of Agriculture is also available as a video. You can see this handsome man named Corbett Kull here sitting in his office. Actually, a very, very boring office. I mean, you'd think the founder of this company would have pet monkeys and cool art. It's got a farm calendar in the backdrop, and that's it. But if you want to see videos of these recordings, go to Damian Mason channel, just the Damian Mason channel on YouTube. Just type in Damian Mason, it'll come up. Hit subscribe. It'll help me get more people like you watching this stuff. I also want to remind you, while you're bopping around the internet, especially if you are a farmer, you're heading into winter, you're going to have a little more time. And it's a good time to enhance your mind, go to extremeag.farm. That's 6 high-yielding, forward-thinking farmers that started Extreme Ag, and they've teamed up with me, or I've teamed up with them, as it were, to help them produce content, videos, audios, articles, things that you can use to apply to your farming operation. It's the Cutting the Curve podcast and various other things. You just go to Extreme Ag. That's X, not E, Extreme. No E, extremeag.farm, and check out the good stuff we're doing over there that you can apply to your farming operation for greater yields and bigger profits. Okay. Did you have to bring in somebody that's a real estate broker? Did you have to go get a license? Did you, this whole thing of becoming the agent now?
Yeah, we, fortunately, one of our large landowners was a broker already. So he's our managing broker. And then we hired a couple of other folks that are brokers as well. And along the way, I also ended up getting my real estate license in Illinois as well. So I've listed and sold a few farms already myself. So yeah, it's you have to be a licensed broker.
Okay, so this is, you think, I mean, there's plenty of places, and I just read an article last week that all of a sudden some place in Iowa fetched $26,000 an acre. So it's like, holy crap, the floodgates are opening. Now everybody that was thinking about maybe unloading their farm real estate, is that what's going to happen? Are we going to have a flood? Are we going to have an absolute flood of acres coming on in the next 90 days?
Well, it's obviously it's a pretty hot market, right? And commodities prices still are at a pretty good level right now as compared to, let's say, 18 to 24 months ago. So land is still trading at pretty good levels right now. I think it's pulled back a little bit from where it was at over the summer. The other thing that I think people are worried about is, hey, what's going to happen to capital gains tax?
Yep.
What's going to happen on 1031 exchanges? And just overall, it seems like the tax regime is going to change somewhat over the course of the next 12 to 18 months. So I think people are concerned and, considering selling. Plus you've got, pretty good prices. Realize we were in a relatively flat market from, I don't know, what would you say, 2015 to early 2020?
Well, we saw some correction. I'd say that we were not quite flat. I'd say from my perspective, we lost about 25%. We had a huge run up on real estate, farm real estate. 2013 was the high water mark. I predicted 2012 was going to be, but it extended for one more year. But then again, land values tend to follow things just a little bit because there's money on the sidelines. So it was 2013. I think we started seeing, I would call it a 25% correction in my part of the world from about 2014 sliding into 15, 16. And then it was more, I'd say, like you said, stable right there until the last year. And now all hell has broken loose. Is that what you're going to say?
Yeah. I mean, look, the early days, the first 60, 90 days of the pandemic, there was a lot of concern, right? And there was a genuine softness in the market, just as people were freaking out about what was happening with the stock market and, will the credit markets lock up, et cetera. And then, August, September of last year, commodities started taking off. And then, I think just the general sentiment around, agriculture has, people seem to be paying more attention to it today than what they were.
Yeah, well, then everybody decided that they want their little place in the country so they can go and hide, or they want to own something that's tangible. And I don't know. We say that, but then look at cryptocurrency. That's the furthest thing from tangible. I don't even know. I don't even know what it is. But anyway, that's another story. You are helping people transact rentals and purchases. When you step into a marketplace that you and I both agree was inefficient, or at least had plenty of room for some improvements or some technological advancements, it pissed people off. Agents, people that make their living brokering farmland or getting in the middle of managing rentals, do they like you? Do they hate you? Do they use your service? Give me some scoop on that.
Yeah, obviously some of the ag professionals out there that are doing farm management and brokerage, et cetera. Some of those folks are choosing to use tillable, but it's there are a lot of longstanding relationships between landowners and their tenants and their farmers, and there are certain norms, I guess you would call them. Hey, you're not allowed to do door knocking, et cetera. And really, what we're trying to do is we're trying to bring data and transparency to a market. Said another way, we're trying to bring information to the market for the benefit of both the landowners and the farmers. Mm-hmm. So Mr. Landowner or Mrs. Landowner, or as I call them, Aunt Martha's, right? What is fair market value rent on your farm? Can we give you a little bit of information? Do you have a good farm or bad farm? Do you have a good soil quality farm or a bad soil quality farm? How does your farm compare to the county average? Mm-hmm. What are county average rents? What are county average yields? Just basic information. On the farmer side, what farms might be available for rent or for sale that otherwise you might not know? And a funny thing is I get called all the time by farmers who are like, hey, what do you think fair rent might be on this farm? Now, think about that for a second. Farmers call us up and say, hey, Corbett, what do you think fair rent is? And part of it is even the farmers are kind of like, well, I know I might be able to pay, $275. So for their business, they could afford $275 an acre, but they don't know if that's fair or not. So again, it's kind of weird, but we get calls all the time. And of course, we'll help the guys out and say, yeah, this is what our data would suggest farms are renting for in that area. And really, at the end of the day, I think it's just all about fairness to the landowner, right? And also fairness to the grower or the farmer. It's not, we're not trying to get max top dollar rent, like squeeze every last penny out of a farmer. That's not our goal. The reason why that's not our goal is that's not sustainable, right? That grower would be a one and done, right? He'll farm it 1 year and then won't farm. It's really about fairness, but what's fair to the landowner, right? And what's fair to the farmer. Now,
by the way, Corbett, I've been in business for 28 years and I was in corporate before that. I've been in my own business for 20 years and people like to say the word fair. You know what? Fair is a place where you eat cotton candy and they award blue ribbons to pigs. The reality is, everybody's definition of fair in terms of transaction. But the point is there is such a thing called fair market value. If you want to find out what something's worth, put it on the market. And you'll know. I mean, there's it's as simple as that. And so what we are talking about, and this is one of my gripes, and I love farmers. I am a farm guy. These farmers that are paying, $100 less than they should be, they're taking advantage of whoever their owner is. And then when that gets plucked away from them, they say, oh, someone came in here and screwed up the marketplace. I'm like, you weren't even close. We all know if you're renting a house in town or that square footage in the strip mall that I used as my example before, you sure as hell know. Walk down the street. Oh, it's $16 a square foot to rent this space. Boom, that's the market. These people that think they're somehow getting away with something, well, they are. And when it changes, it's like shame on you kind of thing. So I agree with you about the information. You are doing that. Do farmers complain? You've got farmers that call up and want you to use your service. You've got them that want to know your stuff. You had a couple of people that maybe they got their feathers ruffled, right?
Yeah. I mean, we've ruffled some feathers as you've said. Obviously earlier in 2020, right before the start of the pandemic, there was a little bit of I refer to it as a Twitter blow up, largely misinformation and kind of not really characterizing the situation, correctly. It was definitely a learning experience, for us. I mean, we were, aggressively out there, marketing our hassle-free lease product. That ruffled some feathers. I guess I would say, kind of turned the volume down on that product, and we're not really selling that product anymore. We're just doing basically digital farm management. But yeah,
you're not just doing that. You're also now, you've already decided that you're going to help the farmers get land available, or you're going to help the landowners get a new operator, or an operator is paying market price. If you stop using the word fair and just say market price, because that's what we're talking about. If I go to sell my house in Arizona, I'm not talking about what's fair. I'll just put the damn thing on the market for market price. I'll pull the comps, and it'll be very obvious. This is many dollars per square foot in my zip code, boomity, 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 this. But you also decide now you're going to replace the bank. So now every ag banker is going to hate Corbett Kull. And I mean, they're going to call me and say, you brought that son of a bitch on your podcast. He's trying to put me out of a job. He's trying to get in the banking business. I saw a press release that says that you are teaming up with Compeer Financial. I think that's one of the parents of Farm Credit, if I'm not mistaken, or is involved there. And you're going to start loaning money on farm ground. Give me the scoop.
Yeah. So again, came out of personal experience. I was going through the process of purchasing a farm for myself.
Personally. Okay.
Personally. And I'm like, okay, well, I need to borrow some money, like so many other people, to buy the farm. And, I just started going through the lending process, filling out, kind of paper and pen applications. A lot of the questions didn't really apply to me. And, some of the lending institutions I went to took 2 days, some took 2 weeks, and some took a couple of months to get back to me. And I'm like, that's kind of messed up. And I'm like, there's got to be a better way. And we had started working with Compeer. They're pretty forward leaning on technology. And just started talking to them about creating a digital, online application for applying for a farm loan. And, we started working on it, and we launched it a few weeks ago. So that process that took 2 days, 2 weeks, 2 months, now you can fill out an application online digitally via Tillable, and get approved in as fast as 5 to 10 minutes. So I timed myself going through the application. I was able to fill it out and get approval in a little over 4 minutes. So
you're the founder of the company, so of course. But what about some poor schmuck like me? I'm out here, self-employed guy. I get a note from my mom to get a loan. Can I get money on my phone through Tillable at your joint venture with Compeer in 4 minutes? Or you going to go ahead and string me out too?
No, you should be able to get it done very quickly.
You're going to send me back a message. You're going to send me back a message saying you're screwed. The world needs ditch diggers too, right?
No, we don't. We would never talk to our customers that way. But yes, even a schmuck like you could fill it out in just a few minutes and get approved for a loan.
Do we have too many bankers? Because I'm not being mean. We know that a dollar is the purest commodity. I mean, it's a more definable commodity than number 2 yellow U.S. corn. I mean, it's a dollar. And when I bought my first property in 1996, I remember I had to jump through hoops and get notes from my mom and, just about everything. And finally, at some point, you realize, hell, there's money everywhere. Do we have too many bankers? I mean, do we, and I'm not being mean, but does this get to where we do this all on our phones and it's as simple as that?
I think so. I mean, obviously it's a large purchase, right? And I think there is a certain comfort in being able to pick up the phone and call somebody. And in our case, if you're filling out the application and you run into problems, you can call us up and we will walk you through that. We have real live people in the company. But in terms of, do we have too many bankers? I think the way I would answer that question would be, I believe farmers need more options for for financing, and landowners too. And I think Tillable is providing another avenue for farmers and landowners to borrow money to buy a farm. So naturally, I mean, look, 20 years ago, did you think that you would be able to go onto the internet and order a new pair of socks and they would be here this afternoon? No. I mean, that seemed like science fiction, right? Did we think that you would be able to, download and watch movies on your phone? No, it seemed like science fiction, or do two-way, even a Zoom call, right? That seemed like science fiction, right? But the world is getting digitized, and finance specifically. Look at how sophisticated lending is on the residential side.
Yeah.
So I think it's really all we're trying to do is bring the same tools and technology to bear for the farm land market and for the farm market as a whole that the residential markets have, the commercial markets, the consumer.
Well, I mean, this started a long while ago on homes. I mean, I want to say, what was it called? Countrywide, Lending Tree. These places, hell, before the internet was what it is, it was like a 1-800 number. You called them up and said, I've got, $8,000 for down payment. I want to buy that. Boom. So I agree with you that there's, again, we're sort of going with what I think is inevitable. What's next? What is Tillable going to be doing 1 year? What apple cart are you going to upset 2 years from now, Corbett?
Well, I don't know if I can give away all of our secrets, but
will you promise me you're going to upset some apple carts?
It's almost inevitable, right? it's pretty much inevitable we're going to upset somebody. But obviously on the brokerage side and on the farm transaction side, I think there's a lot of opportunities to digitize that entire process. It's still, to close on a farm, it takes too long, in my opinion. So I think both the lending part takes too long, but actually the closing part. So a little bit of foreshadowing there. And then on the lending side, we're not going to just stop with farm loans. I mean, you can expect that other types of financing we'll start rolling that out for farmers as well.
And I appreciate that. But remember, I can get money a lot of places. I'm not being arrogant, but you get to a certain level. I hope to God at age 52, I'm finally there where there's people that want to loan me money because I'm presumably a good credit risk. If I wanted to buy a tractor from Kubota to Case to John Deere, they have credit. If I wanted to buy my own seed, which I don't, my farmer buys the seed company will extend me credit. Buy a new truck, they'll extend you credit. Then there's all the ag lenders and et cetera. It's not an uncrowded marketplace that you're entering. There's a lot of folks out there attempting to extend credit or make loans.
The part that's not well occupied today, Damian, is the digital first area and making it so quick. So as far as I know, we are the first, all digital application for farm loans.
So your value proposition is that you're all digital and you're fast.
All digital, fast, and competitive. So, and that's where cheaper, better, lighter, faster. Just trying to improve that so that 5 years from now, 10 years from now, people look back at 2021 and say, man, I can't believe that I used to borrow money that way. And here's the thing I always think about. Farmers need two things to be successful. They need land and they need money. So I think with what we're building at Tillable, the farm management platform, the brokerage platform, it's checking the box on the land side. And then on the money side, we're trying to digitize it and just give growers better access to capital and more options. And if they choose to still go to their local bank, well, that's great. A lot of those relationships have been there for decades.
Yeah, I mean, let's
young guy.
You've got a different proposition here, Corbett, in that there's this reality that you talked about 20 years ago versus today. I'm one of them. I don't like the idea of buying stuff on Amazon, but my wife when we were talking, people probably, if they're watching, saw me looking out my office window. The damn truck pulls in and dropped off something that Lori bought online. And we were not big. We still aren't big online buyers. I try to support, and I certainly try not to go through the evil empire of Amazon. But there's that resistance or reluctance is going to change with years. And that's where you're sitting, your position. And you won't tell me what apple carts you're going to upset in the next 1 or 10 years, but you've got some things up your sleeve. Are you making money?
No, we're not profitable today.
You've been at it for 4 years. You're expanding. Number of employees?
We've got about 20 people on the team today. 20
people on the team. 21 going to be 50% bigger than 2020, 10% bigger than 2020?
I would say we'll more than double year over year.
Good deal for you. You won't tell me what's next. What's your big, bold prediction? What do you see happening in agriculture in the next couple of years that some people maybe is not on their radar?
That's a good question.
I can give you several of mine. I can give you several of mine just while you're pondering it. First off, I think fake meat is a bunch of shit. It's not really going to go anywhere because it's a bad product, and it sought to alleviate something that most people really aren't that concerned about, either animal treatment. As much as we hear about that from the activist groups, the truth is most consumers don't really believe that animals are being mistreated. They've got a proposition on environmentalism, and I think it's pretty easily poked a hole in. You still have to use an agricultural product like pea protein, and then you're going to stick some palm oil that's grown in Indonesia with one of the worst environmental records of any country on earth and transport it over here on a ship that we hope isn't just sitting out in the ocean. So I can go through all the problems with that. I'll give you other things. I see increasingly, the farm sector moves into two things: commodity or niche. And I mean, it's going to have a bigger chasm between those two than it does. The people that are tillable customers are generally going to be large scale commodity type producers. And then there's the person that wants 3 acres of arugula. I think that farm programs continue to prop up smaller, less efficient farmers. Nobody likes to hear that, but that's the truth. When they say, oh, those mega farms are getting all that money, I say the truth is they get capped out pretty quickly because of their gross income. Those are some of my big predictions, and I just gave you mine, Corbett. Give me some of yours.
Well, so first of all, on the meat side, I'm there with you. I think people think this fake meat stuff just kind of poof comes out of thin air. It's all going to be based on some agricultural product anyway. And if you like meat, eat meat. Don't eat meat, right? I mean, I'd rather have a good steak than a fake steak. So, I'm probably a little bit biased just because of what I've seen and friends and stuff in the industry. But, I think we haven't even begun to see what automation and autonomous equipment will do. First of all, to improve the quality of life for farmers completely up and down the stack, right? Where, if you take people always think about, it's the big guys that could benefit from that. There's a lot of small farmers out there. They have trouble getting help, right? Yeah. It's hard to really, it's really hard to just like completely farm by yourself, right? So labor's a problem, even for a small farmer.
Especially when you only need it seasonally. You're saying, so you're talking about autonomous. If you can get some way to make it so that, the person that farms 800 acres still needs extra hands for about 4 weeks in spring, 4 weeks in the fall. The smaller livestock operators still can't take a vacation because who the hell's there? So I agree with you. So I think automation's coming. I agree with you on that. Is Tillable going to be a part of that? Am I going to go online to Tillable and rent a robot?
No, I don't think that'll be happening anytime soon. You asked me what my predictions are for the future. The other thing related to the lending side, I think we're going to see a great deal of innovation on financing or fintech for farmers. Here's one thing that's really interesting that I think a lot of people don't really realize. A lot of innovation in the markets has come out of hedging, right, around commodities. And that happened, largely for the benefit of growers being able to manage risk and stuff. So I think I think you're going to see a great deal of innovation over the next 5 to 10 years on the fintech side of farming. It's very, very important, for the farmers. Managing risk,
Yep.
Huge deal, and then access to capital, and being able to, kind of shop around for different kinds of rates on things. If you look at what's happened in banking in small town America, it's a shadow of its former self. So that's going to create opportunities for people to get back into finance in agriculture. So again, that's a little bit self-serving because we're going into financing, but I think that's going to be a huge area of innovation.
No, I agree with you. And yes, you're predicting your own future success because of what you went to. But you know what? Skate to where the puck's going to be, not to where the puck is, kind of a thing. So I don't disagree with you. If you want to learn more, hear more from this guy, if you want to learn more about Tillable, Corbett, what do they do?
Well, you can give me a phone call. You can call up the company and they'll get you routed over to me.
And
or you can go
Tillable.com.
Go to Tillable.com. If you're interested in our financing product, you can go to Tillable.com/financing and learn about our loan products. One of the things for your listeners that I would recommend, if you own a farm, just go into Tillable and claim your farm. And by claiming it, you'll get interesting information around the soil quality of the farm, county average rents, how many farmers we have in the 30-mile radius around your farm. So I would really encourage people, go on to Tillable. It's super easy. Doesn't matter what state you're in. We've got tax parcel data for all 50 states. Right. Yes, even Hawaii. Go on, claim a farm. And then if you really want to talk to me, call the company up, drop me an email. I'd love to hear from your listeners. And
I'm going to go on Tillable.com and claim my farm, and which really means then that you're going to be tracking me, right? I mean, you're going to be snooping on me and you're going to know everything. I mean, basically the satellite now is on my head. Is that what I'm hearing?
Oh, yeah. And I'm personally going to call you up and try to sell you.
So really what you're doing is you're just making access to information, like you said, county averages, and things like that based on the information that's out there. And you get that from USDA or whatever, tax records.
Yeah, you can get a lot of the data from other places, but it can be difficult to access. Have you ever tried to use the USDA website? And I mean, gosh, it can be kind of difficult. Or even Purdue, Illinois, Iowa State, they all have great websites, but it can be kind of hard to find data. We're trying to give access to that information to just make it easier to access and hopefully solve problems for landowners and farmers.
I like it. His name's Corbett Kull. That's Kull, but it's said spelled like COOL. And you can find him at Tillable. Thanks a lot for being on here.
Damian, I appreciate it. This was a lot of fun.
Yeah, well, you know what? We kept it interesting, and what the hell, come and do it again maybe in a couple of years when you get your next thing coming out. His name's Corbett Kull. My name is Damian Mace. Until next time, it's the Business of Agriculture.
This episode of The Business of Agriculture was brought to you by Land Trust. Landowners, just like you, are increasing profitability by adding recreation to their portfolio of land use. Millions of recreators actively seek wide open spaces for birdwatching, photography, hunting, fishing, horseback riding, and many other farm and ranch activities. Owners of farm and ranch properties are partnering with recreation access network Land Trust. Land Trust is an online platform connecting recreators with landowners for outdoor experiences on their land to increase profitability. Visit landtrust.com/BOA, as in Business of Agriculture, to learn more. That's landtrust.com/BOA.